In this example, we're going to measure the same undercut cylinder that we did in the previous tutorial. So just for anyone looking, it's this diameter here. So you can see that undercut cylinder. Only we're going to use a more advanced method to avoid the pre-move collision that occurs due to it being an undercut cylinder. So in the previous exercise, we increased the pre-travel, which is an easy method for avoiding that collision. Only it does add cycle time due to the moves being at the slow controlled probing speed. In this example, we're going to use move wires, which are far faster, only that it's slightly more complicated for inserting those moves. So let's switch over to Aberlink and get the measurement. So again, you can see it's highlighted here, this green cylinder that we're going to measure. And as per all the previous exercises, before we measure the cylinder, we need to set the Z- offset as active. We then open the cylinder, and the first thing we do, if it's not already on the CNC page, is click on CNC and lock the padlocks. That's going to give us a safe entrance and exit through the front of the job. The next thing we need to do is switch on the star offset that we want to take the points with. So again, I'm using the X- here, but if you're ever unsure, just keep changing the offset and move your cursor over the CAD model and you'll see we have the correct one here. We're going to take 2 points. So 1, 2. That defines the cylinder. And as per the previous exercise, we'll click yes. And we do need to change the points as the standard 6 won't run correctly on the machine. So in this example, I'll change this to 3, 4 to give us the best measurement. Press make, click yes, and there we go. So we have the measurement done correctly. We have 3 depths evenly spread out with the stars, and we have the entrance and exit coming through the front of the job. However, as per the previous exercise, the headache is that it's now going to drive directly to the start point, which is going to collide on this face. Potentially also this face, depending on the depth of the undercut. So how do we avoid that collision? Well, in this example, we're going to use move wires. So if I double click this bar, it'll maximize the feature. And the key thing here is we're going to manually insert move wires after the plunge and before the rise. We'll then modify the XYZ coordinates of those move wires to safely navigate into the center of the bore. So to do that, we're going to right click on approach 1, select insert above move wire. We then scroll down, we'll right click on the rise, insert above move wire. So what you should see now is you should see an orange or a yellow depending on the color of your display. It will be a move wire straight after the plunge and just before the rise. What we need to do then is we need to left click on the move wire and modify the parameters for the move wire in the window over by the right hand side. The key thing is that the offset matches the star in which the next contact point is made with. So in this example, it already has the correct star offset, so star stylus X-, A90 B-180, which matches approach 1. So all I'm going to do on this one is adjust the X, Y and Z coordinates. Now the key thing here is making a note visually at which star is being used so that you know which offsets to change. So in this example, it's using the X-, so I'm going to keep the Z the same. Because of the way the job is sitting, the Y value is also going to be the same. So I'm looking at this 30.958 Y value, which I'll keep the same. And the only value I need to change is the X value. Currently it's driving to 38 and I want it to be closer to the center. Now I don't want it to be 0 because remember it is a star offset, so I'm going to set it to around about 20 and that should do. Hit update and close and we now have the correct move wire at the beginning of the code. We now need to address the move wire at the end. So again, if I left click on this, hopefully you can see there that the star probe isn't matching the approach and contact 12, which it should be. So I now need to change that within the probe window box here. I'll click the drop down box. Now in this setup on my monitor, it doesn't display all the text. However, if you look down the bottom right hand corner of the window, it is displaying the full text. That's going to help me find the correct Y plus star, as there is essentially 3 different ones in my probe manager. So if I go down here, you can see this one is the Y plus at 90 minus 180. So I'm going to switch that. The next thing I need to do is find out the correct XYZ coordinates. Again, the Y is relatively easy as it should be the same. So I'm looking at approach 12 and I'm going to use the same value for the Y axis. In this particular case, because I'm using the Y, the X should also be 0, and it's the Z value in which I'm going to change. It's using a negative Z value, so again I'll have to have a negative Z value, but it needs to be closer to the center. So in this example I'll use minus 20. Update and close. Now if we double click this bar again, it should shrink the window, and when we redraw the screen, so I'm just zooming in and out, hopefully you can see there these move wires are set closer to the middle of the bore, so when it drives in and out from the plunge and rise, it won't collide with any features. It drives in, level with the undercut cylinder, does all its measurement, then moves back out and then out through the front of the job and exits. So just to see this in action, we'll turn it on here. You can see also here within the feature, so you can see the move wires are correct. And all I'll do now is switch the camera on and press play.